Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're being blessed with the king from California. His name is Marco Rodriguez. He holds a broker license along with extensive experience managing a large team. Marco has earned the prestigious Top 250 Hispanic Agents Award and nationwide as among the top 100 agents of the West region. Marco Rodriguez is the lead broker of Genesis Real Estate and the MVRod Team, all while being dedicated to his community, faith, and his two beautiful daughters. Marco was born in El Salvador and at age 2 relocated with his family to Berkeley, California. Marco began his real estate career in 2003 as a full-time agent, receiving Rookie of the Year along with numerous sales awards over the years. One of the many being 2015 Top Latino Realtors in the nation, awarded by the National Association of Real Estate Professionals. Marco is the founder of the Genesis Real Estate in Richmond and the founder of the MVRod Team, along with his wife, business partner, and fellow agent, Vanessa Rodriguez. The MVRod Team is a husband and wife partnership, bilingual, both Spanish and English, with over 32 years of combined real estate experience. The MVRod Team consists of real estate professionals committed to unsurpassed personal and professional real estate services, specializing in all aspects of real estate transactions, making buying or selling your home a pleasant and rewarding experience. Blessed with over 150 million sales while assisting over 500 families as buyers, investors, sellers, first-time homebuyers, and relocations in the Contra, Costa, and Alameda County. Everyone, please give it up for Marco Rodriguez.
Hello. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mr. Vincent, thank you so much for having me on here.
Thank you, Marco. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
How you feeling today, man? Another day in paradise or another day?
Another day in paradise. It is. It's a blessing. I mean, we're alive. We're breathing. We're kicking. You know, the sun is up. So hey, it is a good day, man.
That's great to hear, man. That's great to hear. So what made you want to have these two companies that you started, MVRod Team and the other
Genesis? Yeah. So pretty much the way that it started at first, initially I started back when I was 23 years of age. I started my real estate career, and then over time started building up the team, and then we transitioned and became brokers. And then that's where Genesis was founded. So we had 25 agents underneath our wing, and then my wife and I decided just to make sure that we kept our identity. So we were the MVRod Team, which is pretty much short for Marco Vanessa Rodriguez. So that's where that comes from. So that was our inspiration. I got inspired the team name MVRod from A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez. I don't know if you know who that guy is.
Baseball.
The baseball player, yeah. So I heard that. I was like, man, that sounds so cool. A-Rod. And then all of a sudden I said, MVRod. I said, that sounds kind of catchy. So that's how our team name came about.
Nice, man. Nice. Can we go back a little bit in time? So you got in 2003. How was that like going up all the way into 2007, 2009? And how did you handle those down years from 07 to 09, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So when I first started in 2003, it was a hot market. You know, we had just came from the REO market in the late 90s, right? So people were now starting to get into the market. 2002, 2003, it were really hot. And then we had those good years. And then all of a sudden, here comes 2007, right? Where it was a lot of short sales, bank-owned properties, and then everything just slowed down. I mean, we were really moving at a quick pace prior to, but then right when the meltdown came down in real estate, we just had to really focus, and we were very blessed and fortunate to be part of one of our good friends. Her name was Stacy Campos. She had her own REO account, her foreclosure account. So we partnered up with her, and we did everything from helping out with evictions to the squatters to everything else. And that's how we were able to manage those years. But those were very challenging years, man. I mean, things weren't selling. There was a lot of short sales and just a lot of distressed properties out there. But by the grace of God, man, we're here still, 21 years in the game still.
I congratulate you, man. Literally, you championed through the 0809, and then they say after the pandemic, things have slowed down. You're still going stronger than ever. So I applaud you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. And out of all your transactions in 2024, how much are you doing in English and how much are you doing in Spanish? Do you have like half, or do you know like the ratio?
Yeah, so you're talking about like the clientele?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so let's say I would say it's probably well, we talk let's say English, there's a lot of Latinos that only speak English. They don't speak Spanish. So I don't know if we want to cluster them into the English, but I would say on average if just English speaking clients probably about 45% and maybe Spanish speaking only 55%. So it's a little bit almost 50-50.
Whoa, okay then. That's nice, nice. And then it pays to know two languages in California.
It definitely does, man. A lot of clients, what they want to do is they want to be able to communicate with someone that can speak the language. And if you're able to speak the language, then you're just a lot more, you can be a lot more resourceful. They can understand you. They can make sure that they feel comfortable when they're signing these documents with you. So I truly believe that knowing being bilingual is a big blessing. It has a lot of advantages, even though, of course, if you're Latino and maybe Spanish is not your strong language, but you can always sharpen it up, man, especially with clients. They really appreciate it if you're able to speak the language.
No, I'm sure they do. Yeah, they probably feel more at ease, more comfortable. And
Mhm.
I'm glad you're giving exceptional experience, exceptional user experience both in English and in Spanish. I tip my hat off to you. Just a random question, like if you weren't in real estate, like what other career path would you have chosen? What other journey you think you would have gone?
Yeah. Oh, to be honest with you, it's hard, man. Just because of my background. So what happened is when I was younger, I made a lot of mistakes, and there's a lot of things that I did that now I'm just like, what was I thinking, right? Just like when you're young, right? You start doing a lot of things that you're like, what was I thinking? So school was never really my thing. So for sure, I would have been an entrepreneur. That's for sure because just education, I never really felt like the desire, the need to really go to your, higher education, go to college or university, things of that nature. So with that being said, I know for sure I would have been some type of entrepreneur. I don't know what I would be doing, but I know for sure it had to be something with sales. I love people. I love trying to solve people's problems. I like to just be that middle person that can just connect both sides of the transaction. So that's something that I really enjoy, and I just love to really do something different every single day. Right before I jumped into real estate, I worked at Federal Express for 3.5 years, and it was just a routine thing every day. It's like I get up at the same time, go to work at the same time, load the same plane at the same time, get off of work at the same time, and that drove me crazy, man. Because I'm like, I hate this. I hate the routine. I like doing something different every single day. So the only way that I can see myself as doing something every single day that's different is obviously through real estate because our days are just so crazy. Sometimes we have these high moments, low moments, but overall it's just something different. So for sure being an entrepreneur, that's probably what I would have been doing.
Man, I mean, hey, you entrepreneurship, you're built for it. You have a strong stomach, a strong gut. You got thick skin. You're not scared of hearing the no's. Like you're really built. You're really a purebred entrepreneur. What's the most misunderstood thing about your industry or your work, or the biggest misconception people have about real estate in today's world?
I was saying real estate, a lot of people they think that we make all this money. That's
Yeah.
I would say that they think that all realtors are rich. They think that all real estate agents drive fancy cars and have these nice big houses and have these lavish vacations. For the most part, I mean, some of it can be true with a certain percentage of agents, because obviously we have that 80-20 rule in our industry where 20% of agents are doing 80% of the business, right? But then what about that 80% agents that are only doing 20% of the business? Maybe they're doing this part-time. Maybe they're selling, 2 to maybe 6 homes a year. You really can't have that lavish lifestyle unless, of course, there's other sources of income like rental property, or you've got another job that, pays very well, then of course. But in regards to just real estate, just focusing on real estate, making sure that you're able to support that type of lifestyle. Not everyone's able to do that. So I think that misconception, you see Bravo and HGTV, you see all these real estate shows that promote agents as having all this money. So that's one of the things that makes me sad because I know a lot of people that have that fancy car and they do these lavish lifestyles, but they can't afford it. They're struggling, but they want to just put up this facade, and just make it seem that everything's all good. But I'm like, just be true to yourself. You don't have to impress anybody, and you don't have to live a certain lifestyle just to be accepted in the real estate industry. So that's one thing that I can say.
No, you're totally right. The 80/20 rule applies to almost any industry, and you're right. It does apply in real estate too. If you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
I would say one of the things and that I would change is just agents' attitudes, man. I would say that, man. Right now, we're going through a transition. It's going to humble a lot of agents,
Mm,
and I do see it's going to humble lenders, agents, appraisals, a little bit of everything. But one thing that I would say that I would love to just change is just to be more humble, because again, sometimes a lot of agents, they're very blessed to be able to do the production that they have. They're very blessed to be able to service the community and the clients that they do. But sometimes they forget and they think that it's all about me. They're got to be the spotlight. They got to have this way of being. And that's something that I just think that hurts our industry more than anything else. Because again, if everybody perceives, or you sit here and tell everyone how much money you make off a sale or how much money you make in a year, I think that just shows the public that, we're making all this money. And that means that if you're making all this money, everyone else is making this money. And then maybe the things that we do, we're probably getting overpaid for it. So that's where then the perception of the consumer, what we're transitioning now about all these changes that are coming into the industry, I think it has a lot to do with it, because people are just sitting here saying, I make XYZ and I do this and I do that. And then all of a sudden the consumers, it's like, dude, you guys aren't worth it. All you guys are doing are helping people buy and sell a home. So that's one thing that I really, when I see it, it kind of irks me, man. That I'm just like, these guys and gals, I wish they'd be a little bit more humble.
no, I totally get it, man. I totally get it. What's the most courageous decision you made recently, and how has it impacted you?
Courageous. I would say this. A few months ago, I was asked to speak on a panel,
Mm-hmm.
and this was right when the whole, Israel and Hamas had taken place. So everything was just kind of fresh, and our office just wanted to make sure that we're always politically correct, making sure that we don't say things that we're not supposed to, right? But I talked about my faith. I talked about the what I believe in and who I am as a person and where I get all my energy, my ideas, my business, and I just proclaimed it. And I just said, "This is who I am." And I actually felt that I got a lot of respect from it. I didn't really get criticized. I didn't get questioned about it. So that was something that I was like, man, that was really cool, because I expected totally the different. I didn't. The outcome I thought was going to be so different, but it came out really, really well. So that was just something that I really, really appreciated from everybody that was there. So that was something that took a little bit of courage, but I said, this is I have this platform and I want to use it to be able to honor God, and I did it, and it went very well.
Dude, I commend you, man. I'm not gonna lie, you're not the first or last person to talk about having a higher, like having faith or believing in a higher energy. So if there was a way to prove it, I'm pretty sure there could be a way. Um, what's the next big thing we should expect in the real estate industry, and how are you contributing to it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I really do think that our level of service as agents is going to scale up. I really do think that now it's no longer going to be just someone that can fog a mirror. I can get my real estate license and start doing business. I actually think that we're going to have to dive a little bit deeper into the clients. I really do think that you have to prove to the consumer your value as a person, as their agent, as their advocate, as the person that's going to pretty much be able to hold them through the transaction, through those storms and those fires. You've got to be the go-to person. So I really do think that real estate is going to take up a notch of customer service, which is a great thing, especially for our clients.
No, wow, you're totally right. I think it does help the consumer in the long run. You got to give that value proposition, and you do in fact to give exceptional customer experience if you want to get compensated for it for your work.
Mhm.
How do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work if that's ever happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very, very honest. Everyone's going to get criticized, no matter how good you are. you know, and that's just everybody. I mean, you Google up any restaurant. I mean, you might think it's the best restaurant. You'll see one star with a complaint on it, right? There can never be 1,000 5 stars. You will always get that one person that's just going to be complaining. One of the things I've learned that in life, you're never going to be able to please everybody. You're never ever going to please everybody. I mean, even if we look at the life of Jesus, Jesus was not able to fulfill everybody's wishes. He was not able to please everybody. There were so many haters around him. And that's one thing. And I'm like, if Jesus wasn't able to please everybody, there's sure way I can't please everybody, right? So you're just going to have to just suck it up. You got to have thick skin. You got to be able to make sure that you manage it. We're all mature. We're all adults. And just don't take it personally. Sometimes people complain. You might give your best. You gave it 150, 200%, but people will still never be impressed. They might not even appreciate what you did. And that's okay. There's somebody else that will. So just keep it moving.
No, you're totally right, Marco. You're totally right. Thank you for sharing that. That just clicked to me too. That what you just said is true. Words not even spoken about. And I don't know if you know the law of numbers, but they say 25% of people are always going to love you no matter what you do. 25% of people are not going to like you even if you are perfect, and it's up to you to decide the other 50% how they perceive you.
Yeah, there you
go. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Any historical figure, man. That's a good one there, man. Ooh, historical figure. Let me see here. Well, you know what? To me, I would love to just have dinner with Mike Tyson, man.
The boxer?
Mike Tyson, man. That is my guy, man. Like, I love Mike Tyson, man. Like, I've watched all his film. I've watched all his fights. To me, he's the best fighter of all time. I would just love to just have a chat with him. He's got a great story, man. I don't know if you knew this, but, he went through hardships. He lost his manager. He died, and that's kind of where he kind of lost it. He also was inspired by Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali ended up losing a fight to somebody. I can't remember who it was. And then Mike Tyson made a promise to Muhammad Ali. He said, you know what? I'm going to beat that guy for you. And then that's exactly what he did. He ended up beating that guy that beat his idol, which was Muhammad Ali. So, that takes inspiration. That's inspiring to me, man. He had that drive to want to just overcome the one that just defeated his idol, man. So to me, Mike Tyson, that's my guy, man.
No, that's funny, man. It's funny how life can sometimes bring a full circle to you.
Yeah.
And what's the story behind your most memorable success or failure, would you say?
Memorable success. Well, I would just say that, we're from El Salvador. So I was actually born in El Salvador. My wife was born in El Salvador. And I remember that we had these clients. There was two sisters that they had just came from El Salvador. They were here maybe about 4 years. And they were always being shut down by everybody about them wanting to purchase a house. They were only here 4 years. They weren't making a lot of money. And they said, Marco and Vanessa, we want to see if there's any way that we can buy our own house. And then we got them pre-approved. And this is back when there was some free grant money back in those days. And we were able to help them purchase their very first home. Two sisters, only 4 years from El Salvador. So that was like really, really something memorable for us because we were able to help them when everyone else turned them down. We were able to get them keys in hand, man. So that was really, really cool.
Nice, man. I'm glad you were able to get them across the finish line.
Yeah, for sure.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work, would you say?
Legacy, I would just say more than anything, just making sure that just people know that we can use as agents, as lenders. We have so much influence over people. You can actually use your career to be able to be a blessing to your community. For instance, in our industry, we come across a lot of people that are either just getting married, going through a divorce, having kids that are getting themselves into trouble. There's a lot of people that maybe they have a family member that maybe is going through hardships or maybe on drugs or whatever the case might be. I've taken upon myself to use real estate like a ministry. So what I do is I love to help out. I mean, I've done marriage counseling. I've been able to coach young men to be able to kind of be their role model, to kind of tell them this is what you need to do to be able to find success being that man that God has called you to be. I've been able to step in where there was times where we thought people were going to get divorced, and then my wife and I have been able to come together and counsel them and then keep them together to kind of persevere and not get divorced, continue fighting for their marriage. We've been able to talk to kids that are maybe in a situation where maybe mom isn't present or dad isn't present, and they just need somebody to talk to look up to. So, and going back to your question, the legacy is more than anything just using these platforms to be that person that they can remember you not only as a real estate agent, but also as that person that really truly cared about them, their family, their situation, and so forth. So that's kind of what I love about real estate, just giving us that opportunity to be there for our clients.
You truly have the giver's game mentality, Marco. You really do. And is there anybody that inspires you, influence you the most in your work, would you say?
Well, the one that inspired me the most when I first started was my mom. And here's the reason why. My mom, she is somebody that's inspirational. She came from El Salvador. We had our a war in our country. We had a civil war, so she wanted a better life for her kids. And I just remember just her coming to the U.S. and she was pregnant with me, but then she got deported back to El Salvador. And then she waited until I was a year and a half, and she says, now's the time I'm going to try again to come to the U.S. because I don't want my kids to go through this civil war. I'm just so scared for them because there's just a lot of chaos going on. So she came back with my sister. She came back first, and then she just came to the U.S. not really knowing anybody, and she just started to open up doors for the rest of us. And then she got me out of El Salvador. She brought some of our family from El Salvador. So she was just always very persistent, and she already knew what she wanted. And here we are, man, by the grace of God. She took that first step, but I'm here able to now reap all the rewards being in this beautiful country, man. Because if I was in El Salvador, I don't know what I'd be doing, man. I know there's not the same opportunities over there that there is here in the U.S. So I just know that my mom was my inspiration. So when I started real estate, when I first got licensed, it took me 6 months before I sold my very first house.
Whoa.
And so then, you can imagine, working 7 days a week, pushing 60, 70 hours a week, trying to get your first deal. And then every door just keeps shutting in front of your own eyes. You're like, man, when am I going to get my first deal? You're not making any money. You're getting frustrated. And I just remember having my mom sitting with me at the dining room table. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, you know what? Real estate's just not for me. I'm just going to give up. And she says, you know what, son? I did not raise a quitter. I did not raise a quitter. You didn't come this far just to give up. She says, you're going to put your big boy pants on. You're going to continue to make those calls, continue to do whatever you have to do, but you will get your first sale within weeks. After that prep talk, after that coach talk, however you want to call it, I was in contract with my very first transaction. Now, if I would have quit, I wouldn't be here. But because of her words, her inspiration, she says, look, if I've been through a lot in my life and I've been able to overcome with the grace of God, you can do it too. And, after 6 months, I got my first transaction. Within my first year, I closed 12 transactions. So I was really excited just for this new journey. So, first God, and then my mom is my inspiration.
Dude, I'm so glad you have her in your corner. She literally was like a little catalyst almost to push her whole momentum to just break through that plateau.
Yes, sir. She was that Raven fan, man, cheerleading.
Everyone needs a support system in their life. And then what is one piece of advice you wish you had received early in your career? Do you think that could have just helped you even be gone higher or growing faster?
Yeah, one piece of advice that I think I wish that they would have probably told me was just to make sure that when you're making this money, to make sure that you save it and be very frugal with it and make sure that you invest it into yourself, into investments, but just not spend it all. And this is what I mean. When I started, I was 23 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
23 years, you're trying to figure out life. What are you doing? Who do you want to become? You're trying to identify who you are as a young man, right? right before I got into real estate, I was working at Federal Express. So I was only working part time. So what I made in real estate was like four times what I made in a year at Federal Express. So that quickly got to my head. I started thinking that this is what's going to happen every single year. I'm going to make all this money so I can spend it. I can go do this. I can do that. I can buy cars, all these crazy things and ideas that you have as a young man. And no one told me, like, dude, it's not going to be like this forever. Make sure that you save for that rainy day because that rainy day will come. And it sure did. It showed up in 2007. So we had, what is that? 4 great years of real estate, but I didn't make wise choices. I didn't make wise decisions. So what I would just say, somebody starting real estate, especially if you're quite not on that level where you understand how to make wise decisions or make those sound investment decisions, make sure that you're able to save, keep some of that money. That Uncle Sam wants his fair share. Our Uncle Sam, he wants his fair share. You got to pay the man. So you just got to make sure that you save some money to pay the guy and then pay yourself. Make sure that you keep some to enjoy for yourself. So investing right back into yourself. So that's just something that I wish somebody would have told me. They didn't, but I found out the hard way. And here I am. But it's something that's very important, especially when you're starting off young in real estate.
No, you're totally right, Marco. That was a great point. Yeah, there are cycles, and you might be at the high point, and you never know when the next low point's coming. So you should brace yourself for that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But besides your first year, what was the turning point to you being like, whoa, I can start my own brokerage? Like, or what do you think was a changing point in your journey? You think was it
Yeah.
something
So
more clear as day?
so sometimes sometimes in life you do things because you want to do them, and sometimes you do them just out of necessity, right? So what happened is I was a partner in the brokerage, but I was not the broker. And our partner, she was a broker. She decided to step away. So then I was forced to get my broker's license, not because I wanted to, but because we wanted to keep the brokerage continue to operate. So what happened is I had to get my broker's license, and then once I got my broker's license, I decided to continue to be the broker owner of the company, which it was really good. I'm very glad I did it. That helped me get my broker's license, and then it also gave me a lot of experience to be able to manage the different personalities, the different types of characters that you have with different agents. So that gave me a lot of experience in that area as well.
Nah, man, that's crazy. Sometimes in life you have to expect the unexpected, and that was just like one of those moments right there for you.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't expecting it, was not on my agenda, but hey, sometimes life will throw you curveballs. So you just gotta brace yourself and be ready for it.
Amen to that. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career so far, would you say?
Biggest lesson is just to always never judge people. And this is what I mean. Sometimes in our industry, we've got this buyer that's got this excellent credit, high paying job, got 40% down, and they're already counting, saying, "Oh, this is gonna be easy transaction. This client, it's a slam dunk. We're gonna get them qualified. We'll get them the house. We're gonna close, right?" So we start already thinking that it's gonna be an easy transaction. And sometimes those clients, maybe they have, because they've got the great scenario, maybe they're shopping around with different agents, shopping around with different lenders. Maybe you might not even get the business, right? And then sometimes we have these clients that we're probably thinking, that client, they'll never be able to buy. They don't have the credit score, they don't have the funds, they don't have the education, they don't have the job. And then they surprise you.
Yeah.
They surprise you. They'll find the cosigner. They'll be able to get this money from family. They'll be able to save it. But if you're not there and you just judge them and just think they're not capable of doing something, you're going to lose an opportunity. I learned that lesson from one of my clients that in the past they didn't have the down payment, they didn't have the job, they didn't have anything to be able to purchase, but we always kept in touch. Probably 4 years later, after our initial consultation, 4 years later, they came back saying, "Hey, Marco, I just want to let you know I've got about $900,000 cash, and I want to buy a house cash." I'm like, 4 years, dude. Like you weren't ready 4 years ago. Like, what did you do? Like, what happened? something about there was an injury and something took place and things of that nature. So they got compensated, but it came back, and because the way that he felt like I treated him, he came back. He says, "Man, I have all kind of references. I have a lot of different friends that say, use my realtor, blah blah blah. But I remember how you treated me, so I want to go ahead and give you the business." So we were able to close the transaction. Yeah, a little over 900, and it was somebody that you probably, if you look at that person, you probably think like they're not capable of buying, but yes, they were. They were able to buy it, and not only with a loan, but they were able to buy it cash. So just never judge anybody. Don't judge a book by its cover, right?
No, you're totally right on that. Almost anyone you meet could be a potential client almost.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, sir. And then what's the most challenging aspect of being in your role in today's world as a broker, managing a team?
So pretty much right now, I'm no longer a broker owner. I'm just what we call a team leader. So I'm able just to still kind of oversee operations for the entire team. So one of the most difficult things to do is just to make sure that everybody's content on the team. You've got different personalities, different ways of conducting business, but in a sense, you are the one that needs to kind of put everything together, pull everybody together, because we are all in this together, right? So we just have to make sure that we understand that and just understand everybody's situation, understand everybody's character, their way of doing business, and just making sure that you're always neutral to a certain extent. But when you have to call something out, then you've also got to do it, because again, they're looking to you as their leader. So they definitely want to make sure that you have those leadership skills, and you also have to make sure that you have uh, that leadership mentality, that what you say and how you conduct business is going to inspire everyone else to continue to be beneath you under your leadership. So that's something that I believe that everyone's gonna have a hard time when you're in the leadership role, but at the same time, it could be very rewarding.
No, totally, man. You're changing the trajectory of other humans almost. So I can only imagine like that is like seeing them win is like basically seeing yourself win almost. Um,
Exactly.
what do you think is the key to maintaining a work-life balance, and how do you apply it in your life?
Work life is it's very challenging in our business. That I must say it is very challenging. Sometimes you have to just be creative with your schedule. Like for instance, if usually you want to do a vacation on the weekend, but maybe you've got so much going on, you've got appointments, maybe you might have to take a mini vacation during the week, or maybe split it up into different mini vacations versus a long vacation. Sometimes you want to go have dinner with the family on a certain night, but then something came up and maybe you have to rearrange it, and maybe you have to do something different. Just being very creative with your time is very, very key. But at the same time, you also have to be very firm on the things that are very important to you as an individual. So certain things, like for me, are like, for instance, Sunday, that's my day off. That's where I got to go to church. I want to be with my family. I want to rest, so that's like my very sacred day is Sunday. So if someone wants to see property, I mean, if it's on occasion, I'll change it and I can kind of work around it sometimes. But when there's something that's very important, like a family event or something going on at our church, where it's just I have to be there, then you just got to just say you can't do it. You got to be like, I can do it Saturday, I can do it Monday, but you got to have some time to yourself, to your family, to God, to be able to re-energize yourself. Because if you're running just Monday through Sunday, just working every single day, that's going to have an impact on your life. It's going to have an impact on your family. It's going to have an impact on your relationship. So you don't want to do that. So you've got to be able to say no at times. So you got to be very true to what is important to you.
No, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Either you work to live or you live to work almost. And you gotta find that balance. Um, what's your advice on someone starting out in the industry in today's world? How like if they came to you today, like how could they be successful by the end of the year, and how could they just take off in 2025?
Well, I would say right now, to be successful, you've got to just really, you got to be all in. Got to be all in. Number one, you got to have the mindset. One thing for sure that I tell some of the newer agents is that this business, it's a very tough business. It's challenging. You got so much competition. You've got people on the other side that have more experience than you do. So as a newer agent, as someone that's new to the business, what kind of value can you bring to the table? So obviously you lack the experience. However, you can make up for it in different avenues. You know, you can do it with integrity, you can be with truthfulness, you can do it with commitment, you can do it with being on time, you can do it with kind of going above and beyond. There's so many different things that you can overcome the lack of experience. So you have to start off number one with a mindset. Number two, if somebody can do it, you know, then you can do it also. It's not something that's impossible. And just making sure that you do have someone that's going to be your cheerleader, just like my mom was my cheerleader. I needed somebody. I can truthfully say that if I didn't have a cheerleader on my side, obviously right now I'm very blessed to have my wife. You know, she's my cheerleader. I'm her cheerleader, so it works out very, very, very well. But if I didn't have that person on my sideline, I don't know how I would be able to continue to manage. But I do know that everybody needs somebody that's going to be rooting for you, that's going to be cheering you on, that's going to tell you like you can do it when you kind of don't believe that it can be done. You need somebody that can believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So that's something that I definitely would encourage everybody to have somebody. And me personally, what I can say is that my most strong point and everything that keeps me moving is my faith. No matter what happens, no matter what comes about, no matter what the situation looks like, my faith always overcomes every obstacle. So that's what gives me the strength to continue to keep moving along in the right direction. Because if I can surely say, if I didn't have any faith, I think I would have given up many years ago. Why continue? But because of my faith, just because I'm able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what changes come about, we just continue to move along and just knowing that God's going to provide somehow, some way. He will always provide.
Now, I'm glad you have the blind faith in order to prevail over adversity, Marco. Um, what's your take on the future of the industry? Do you think we're going to be buying with blockchain in 5 to 10 years, or that's later down the road?
I mean, I do see there's going to be a lot of changes come about. I don't, maybe in the short term, I would say maybe like 5 years. From here to 5 years, I think everything is going to pretty much, it's going to be very different with AI coming on board, you know, and a lot of different changes in our industry in the next few months. But overall, here to 5 years, I think it's still going to be, again, just proving your value. I do think that, again, we as agents, as lenders, have to sharpen our skills because we're already seeing it. There's a mass of agents and lenders that are leaving the industry, right? But we want to just make sure that those that want to stay in it just take it very seriously. This is a career. You know, this is not a get rich scheme overnight. You know, you got to just make this into a career and just kind of continue to do what you have to do, and then if so, you'll continue to do very well. And then of course we all have to adapt. You know, we got to pivot, we got to adapt, we got to make sure that whatever trends comes our way, we've got to kind of manage that and just embrace it versus being fearful of it.
No, you're totally right, man. You're totally right on everything that you hit on right there. And then, what are your personal goals for these next 5 to 10 years? You just want to keep building up your team, or what do you envision for yourself?
Yeah, so we scaled it down from a bigger team to a smaller team. So we were at 25 agents at one point. We're down to 7 agents. And one of the reasons why I like to scale it down and just kind of keep it where I'm at is because now we have a lot better uh, communication within the team. Because when it's big, you tend to lose that relationship because it's a big team, right? So now I'm able to have more quality time with each team member. And also, it just makes it a lot more easier because you're not overseeing such a big team. So, to be honest with you, I love the smaller team concept. And I just kind of want to maintain it and just continue to push forward, you know, the next 5, 10, 15 years, you know, however long we'll be in this business for.
Nice. It sounds like you're running a boutique shop with like a strong cohesion and strong synergies.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really good for you. Which is really good. What's your favorite book, podcast, or article that's had a significant impact on your life or your work?
Obviously, I'm going to say the Bible has 66 books in it, right? So I would say it has anything from poetry to wisdom to a little bit of everything in that book. A lot of wisdom, a lot of great things that you can learn. So I would say the Bible, 66 books full of a lot of knowledge in there. That is my go-to. My second one I would say is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon. Let me see here. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
That sounds right.
Napoleon Hill, yeah. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's a lot of different uh, 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 how would I say, lessons that you can learn from there. So I always get that one confused. Think and Grow Rich. The other one I would say is by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's another one of my favorite books. So I would say Bible, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and then Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad Poor Dad, which kind of gives you the mindset on having an entrepreneur mindset versus someone that's just on W-2. So I think those are really, really good and powerful books.
No, they really are. They really. And I want to say Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, talks a little bit like on faith or spirituality too. Almost.
It does. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, Marco, I got 2 more questions for you. Second to last question is, I'm going to be watching this when I'm really old, like 80, 90 years old. What's one piece of advice you want to leave with me, you think?
80 or 90 years old, man. That's a long time from now, man. What year are we at?
24, bro.
No, by the time that's gonna be like what, 20? Because how old are you, man? You super young.
I'm like 30, so like 50 years from now.
Okay. I would say, man, this is I would say a piece of advice for you. I would just say just what do you want to do today that's going to impact your life when you're watching this video again? In other words, what is it that you have that you want to do today, but maybe you haven't really given it much thought. Maybe you think that that could wait 5 years, 10 years from now, but what's holding you back to do it today? Because what happens, the sooner that you can implement it, the sooner you can do whatever it is that you want to do, that's going to be something that's going to be impactful that much sooner in your life. So by the time you're watching it, you're going to be like, wow, I'm glad I took that step or that initiative to do whatever it is that you wanted to do. So I just think making sure that we do what we need to do today and not leaving it for tomorrow. So whatever that looks like for you. But I would definitely encourage you to do it, whether that's branching out, growing the team, whether that's out getting out of the comfort zone, like doing something like this. This is something that's amazing. I commend you for doing something like this, because how many lenders have the idea to want to do something like this, like their own podcast, where they can say, this is something that I want to just provide value to the community that we serve, but they actually don't do it. But then you had an idea, and from that idea came action, and now you're implementing that, and then this is something that you're doing. So that would be just my piece of advice: is just do whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever it is that's that burning desire, like it says in the book of Think and Grow Rich, having that burning desire, that passion to do something, just do it sooner than later.
No, thank you for sharing that, Marco. I appreciate that. I definitely got to. You're right. An idea is only an idea until you execute it. And then, what's the final words you want to leave with the people? Any last thoughts, comments, or how do you want them to reach out to you if you want that?
Yeah. Final words is just be faithful to yourself. And this is what I mean. Be true to yourself. This is what I mean is a lot of times we sit here, we get excited through the emotion. You go to a seminar, you go to an event, you get all amped up, you drink that Red Bull, and all of a sudden you're on fire, right? But then all of a sudden you come home and that fire tends to drift off. You start to cool down, and then you're not amped up as you once were in that setting. The reason being is because that motivation, that energy is just temporary. Because at the end of the day, the one that has to look themselves in the mirror is yourself. So you always have to make sure that you're true to yourself, be faithful to yourself, and whatever you say you're going to do it. Don't lie to yourself. Don't sit here and say you're going to do something, you're not going to do it just because it sounds good or because it sounds like this is the next thing. No, you got to do it. You got to make sure that whatever you say it's just not an idea. It's just not a wish. It's something that's going to be backed up by action. So I would just say, if anything, is just be true to yourself, be faithful to yourself, because at the end of the day, you can't fool anybody. You can't fool yourself. If you're gonna do something, do it, but make sure that's something that's within reason. I'm not saying not dream big. We all need to dream big. We all need to shoot for the stars, but you got to make sure that you have those baby steps. You have to have that action plan. What are you gonna do to be able to lay it out there so that you can get to that goal? So don't say, oh, I want to just sell 1,000 homes in a year. First say, maybe I want to sell 100. Okay, that's more reasonable. How do I start off selling 100? I've got to have a team member. I've got to have an assistant. I've got to have a transaction coordinator. I've got to have a buyer's agent, a listing agent, whatever the case might be. But you've got to make sure that you break it down to where it makes sense. And once you hit 100, then shoot for that 1,000. There's a lot of agents that can sell 1,000 in a year. Big teams. I've seen it done. But at the end of the day, just be true to yourself. That's all I would say.
No, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the implementation of a blueprint, like it that's basically it. You create a blueprint, implement it, and just execute on it. Thank you for your time, Marco. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from a king from California, Marco Rodriguez. Thank you for your time, Marco. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me here. And if anybody needs to reach out to me, I'm sure my contact information will be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll definitely put it in the description, everyone.
Awesome.
Get up Marco's, or do you want to share your phone number or email in case?
Yeah. So phone number is area code 510-375-3172. Once again, it's 510-375-3172. Anybody needs, not only just in the real estate, but, newer agent wants to just call and maybe get some pointers, be more than happy to share, anything that I can do to help you out in your career.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's not kidding about this too, by the way. Last year I called Marco and he literally was explaining to me Blue Ocean, Red Ocean. And and this is Mark, by the way, you're one of the reasons I started this podcast.
There you go. Okay.
Literally, I was like, how can I execute on Blue Ocean? I was like, this is it. Like I see it.
There you go.
So I'm not kidding you. Give him a courtesy call. He might generate an idea or something for you. You never know. It doesn't hurt to talk 10, 15 minutes. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. Thanks again, Marco. You're the man.
Thank you for having me, man. God bless everybody.